What if I told you there's a protein source worse than hot dogs and bacon combined? A product made with gasoline components, bleached with harsh chemicals, and sold as a health food. Stay with me because what you're about to discover will shock you. Welcome to my YouTube channel. I'm Dr. Robert. Today, we're exposing a protein product that's been deceiving health-conscious consumers for decades. This isn't just another nutrition myth, this is about understanding what's really in your food. The controversy: you've probably heard about organizations pushing plant-based diets. Some groups suggest we should drastically cut our red meat consumption down to just a few servings weekly and replace it with plant proteins instead. According to these recommendations, animal products, especially red meat and processed meats, are considered the worst protein choices available. But here is the shocking truth: there is a plant-based protein that makes processed bacon look like a wholesome meal by comparison. Let me walk you through what this mystery protein really is. Clue number 1: the extraction nightmare. First, consider how this protein is created. We're looking at an industrial extraction process that starts with defatted soy flour. Sounds technical, right? Let me break it down. This is an ultra-processed ingredient where manufacturers extract components from soy flour after removing the fat. But here's where it gets disturbing. They use a chemical solvent called hexane for this extraction. What exactly is hexane? It's a component found in gasoline. Now, manufacturers will often argue that hexane isn't concerning because it supposedly evaporates completely from the final product. But here is my challenge to that claim. Where are the independent studies proving zero hexane residue remains in these foods? They don't exist. Instead, this ingredient receives what's called a GRAS designation, generally recognized as safe. This is essentially a regulatory loophole allowing the food industry to self-approve ingredients without rigorous independent testing. Think about this logically for a moment. Would you willingly soak your dinner in a bucket of gasoline solvent, let it evaporate, and then eat it? Even if someone assured you it completely evaporated? I certainly wouldn't, but that's essentially what's happening here. Clue number 2: an industry waste product. Here's another disturbing fact. This protein is actually a byproduct of the soybean oil industry. When I say byproduct, I mean it's essentially waste material. The food industry has become incredibly creative at transforming their waste products into profitable ingredients. This protein is a perfect example of that innovation, taking what would otherwise be discarded and marketing it as a healthy food product. It reminds me of how sewage treatment facilities once struggled with sludge disposal until someone rebranded it as biosolids and sold it as organic fertilizer. Check your potting soil labels sometime, you might be surprised. Similarly, commodity industries constantly look for ways to repurpose every fraction of their products. This soy protein represents that same mentality. Clue number 3: heavy metal contamination. Testing has revealed that this protein source contains heavy metal contaminants. We're talking about lead, arsenic, and cadmium, substances you definitely don't want accumulating in your body over time. These aren't just trace amounts we can ignore. These are documented contaminants in a product marketed to health-conscious consumers. Clue number 4: extreme processing. The manufacturing process involves thermomechanical restructuring. That is a fancy way of saying they use extreme heat and mechanical pressure to physically transform this material. Here is how it works. Manufacturers heat this soy product to approximately 200 degrees Celsius, that is 392 degrees Fahrenheit, and force it through tiny nozzles under high pressure. This process causes the protein to puff up and expand, creating a texture that supposedly mimics meat. They're literally trying to make industrial soy waste look and feel like animal protein. This ingredient generates over $1 billion annually and is primarily marketed as a meat substitute to vegetarians and vegans. It's been around since the 1960s, sitting on health food store shelves, marketed as a healthy alternative to animal products. The marketing deception. Let's look at how this product is promoted. The marketing emphasizes that it's high in protein while being low in cholesterol and saturated fat. Therefore, the claim goes, it must be heart healthy. When you search online for information about this ingredient, you'll find some acknowledgement of downsides. The sources admit there are high levels of processing that destroy beneficial nutrients from the original soybean. They acknowledge potential residual processing chemicals like hexane. They mention the high sodium content might be problematic for certain diets. They even note that some people experience digestive problems or allergic reactions. But here's the irony. If you search for the unhealthiest protein sources, you'll consistently find processed meats, hot dogs, and bacon at the top of the list. Yet somehow, this heavily processed soy protein gets a pass. More disturbing processes were not done yet. The manufacturing process includes even more chemical manipulation. They add sodium hydroxide, that's lye, an extremely alkaline substance, to dramatically alter the pH and manipulate the protein structure. Later in the process, they add acids. They're essentially attacking these proteins from both chemical extremes. To address the color problem, manufacturers must add hydrogen peroxide or titanium dioxide to bleach the product. Otherwise, it wouldn't have the right appearance. And because the processing creates unpleasant odors, they must add deodorizing chemicals as well. At this stage, we have sponge-like chunks of protein, if we can even call it protein anymore. These chunks get rehydrated with oil. What kind of oil? More seed oils, typically canola or corn oil. Now we have oil-soaked material that tastes like cardboard. So what's next? Flavoring, of course. Manufacturers add meat flavoring, chicken flavoring, or pork flavoring. But we're not talking about one or two flavor compounds. A single flavor profile might contain 50 to 100 different chemical compounds designed to create the perfect meat taste sensation that hits your taste receptors intensely. They add flavor enhancers, colorants, and then dry everything at 175 degrees Celsius, that's 347 degrees Fahrenheit. Notice they're heating this product twice during manufacturing. The soy problem: here's something important about soy. While heat can destroy certain anti-nutrients, it doesn't eliminate everything. Specifically, the estrogenic compounds in soy remain active even after heat processing. If you have thyroid conditions or take thyroid medication, this is critical information. You should avoid consuming soy products within 4 hours of taking thyroid medication because the estrogenic effects can interfere with how your medication works. Yet the marketing remains relentlessly positive: no cholesterol, no saturated fat, high protein. It's positioned as a health food because of the persistent myth that saturated fat causes heart disease. The comparison to real protein: let's compare this processed product to actual animal protein. Real meat provides bioavailable iron, zinc, other essential trace minerals, B vitamins, and complete, high-quality protein. There's simply no comparison. The ingredient I've been describing is called textured vegetable protein, or TVP. When they say vegetable, they mean soy, so it's textured soy protein. This is a highly refined, ultra-processed ingredient filled with chemicals and heavy metals. It's also typically made from genetically modified soybeans, which means potential glyphosate residue as well. The irony. Here is what is truly wild. Organizations promoting planetary health diets tell you to eliminate red meat while suggesting that textured vegetable protein is perfectly acceptable. According to their guidelines, pea protein, rice protein, and soy protein isolates are all fine alternatives, just don't eat red meat. While creating this analysis, I compared textured vegetable protein with soy protein isolate. Soy protein isolate is also poor quality and involves hexane exposure, but it ends as a powder. Textured vegetable protein goes several steps further with additional heating, mechanical restructuring, flavoring, coloring, and bleaching. That's why, among all the questionable protein sources available, textured vegetable protein sits at the very top of the worst list. Understanding what goes into your food is essential for making informed health decisions. While textured vegetable protein is marketed as a health food, the reality of its processing tells a very different story. Real, whole food protein sources, especially from animal products, provide nutrition that no industrial processing can replicate. Your body recognizes and utilizes real food differently than it handles ultra-processed substitutes. If you found this information valuable, I've created another video covering the healthiest protein sources you should actually be eating. You'll find it linked on your screen right now. And if you're serious about understanding what's really in your food and making better health choices, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. I'm committed to cutting through the marketing myths and bringing you the truth about nutrition. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video where we continue uncovering the facts your health depends on.